All right, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of It Happened to Me, presented by thisweirdworld.com. I'd like everybody to welcome to this show my friend Rose. Hi, Rose. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
All right, Rose, why don't you kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody a little about yourself, and then let's get into your story.
Okay, my name is Rose, and I am originally from Aledo, Parker County girl, born and raised. And husband, 5 kids between the two of us, bunch of dogs and cats, and I'm a marketing communications professional.
Fantastic. So, how long have you been doing that?
I've been in the communications field my entire life. I've specifically been in government communications for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're not afraid to talk to people.
No, I'm anything shy is not one of them.
Yeah, Rose and I actually know each other through work. That's how we met. I'm an IT guy, as I'm pretty sure most of the people who are watching this know. And we have a great working relationship. So, Rose, I really appreciate you coming on the show. So,
Hey, no problem.
Why don't you tell me just a little bit about where this happened? Let's kind of set the scene, and then we'll get into the story.
Okay. So the neighborhood that I grew up in Aledo is right on the edge of a lot of the major ranches out there, specifically the edge of the Dean Ranch. It's kind of in the far eastern part of Parker County. It's almost on the Tarrant County line. And this happened actually in the house across the street from where I grew up, which was my best friend's house that I was renting at the time. But I'd actually been in the house on and off my entire life, but it's the house across the street from my dad's house.
Okay, and how old were you at the time of this?
This particular incident, I was 36.
Okay, so this was like as an adult. It wasn't like you were a little kid.
Yeah, this was like 5 years ago.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. So, all right, why don't you just kind of tell me what happened? And like I said, I may stop you along the way and just ask you some questions.
Okay. So to go back, this is a house that I'd spent a lot of time in. And growing up, my friend and his father always used to make comments about the Indian in the house. And I kind of thought they were messing with me because, you know, you've got like a guy friend and he's going to be like, oh, yeah, watch out for my ghost. And I'm, you know, my thought was, okay, sure, there's a ghost in your house.
Right.
And so I didn't really think much of it growing up because I kind of thought it was just my childhood friends messing with me. But fast forward to, this would have been probably 2014 or so. And I actually was, as an adult, was renting the house. My best friend grew up to buy it and I was renting it from him. And so I was living there with my boyfriend at the time and a couple of dogs. And this was on, let's see, this would have been on like a Saturday night because my boyfriend was bartending, so he had to work late that night. And our house, I'm going to kind of give you a little visual aid here to help explain the layout of things because it's going to make the story a lot easier to understand.
And you'll have to forgive my occasional yawn. It's been a long day. Okay.
Do I have this the right direction? Okay, here's the right direction. So this right here is the hallway leading into the bedrooms in the back part of the house.
Okay.
Fan wide over here. This is our L-shaped couch, right? TV over here in the corner. Kitchen behind here.
Okay.
So one night, it's pretty late because the laundry room is in the kitchen. So I come in from the kitchen and I'm standing at this end of the couch folding laundry. And it's probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching television. It's no big deal. And I've got it pretty dark in the house. It's late. I'm getting ready to go to bed. And as I'm standing there right at the end of the L-shaped couch, folding the laundry, I look over to the corner where basically the crook of the L is. And my little bitty dog, my little bitty bad dog, is standing just as stiff as I've ever seen him stand.
Okay.
And I realize that the air in the room has gone like, you know, people always say that there's like a coldness. I wouldn't describe it as cold so much as I'd describe it as really still. It was just like everything got really quiet and heavy for a second. And I look over and of course the dog is just acting as weird as I've ever seen the dog look. And I kind of stand there and look at the dog for a second, not really process kind of slowly. And so as I look down the hall, down towards the hall from where the dog is, I see what looks like the figure of a man standing in the door of the hallway.
Okay, and this is the hallway leading back towards the bedrooms.
Yes, going back towards the bedrooms.
Okay.
And number one, I knew I was home alone. So it was a little disconcerting, and also the dog clearly saw it too, which was also disconcerting. I was stone
Now,
cold sober.
is the dog growling or anything, or just
The
standing
dog
there?
was not growling. The dog was
Okay.
stiff as a board, just staring.
Okay.
And this was a dog that was very rarely still. He was kind of a hyperactive little like Chihuahua Terrier mix that was constantly bouncing off walls and things. So for him to get that still was very unusual behavior.
Okay.
And so as I look to the doorway and I see the figure of the man, it is very clearly not like, speaking of dogs,
Yeah.
it's very clearly not like you or I was standing there. This man was so large that he pretty much filled the entire doorway of a normal sized house. Excuse me. Molly, no. I didn't yell at my dog like that at the time because he wasn't barking. He had the headdress on,
Okay.
and I could see like either long ponytails or braids. He wasn't completely clear as far as just colors go. It was almost like it was like a faded photograph type of image.
Okay. But there were colors. It wasn't just see-through
Yeah,
white.
there were some colors. Yeah, there
Okay.
was some definition to it for sure.
And was it
And,
full body, so you could see head, shoulders, legs, and everything?
I could see from about waist on up because of the couch.
Okay.
Because the couch had a pretty tall back, so I could see from about here on up. And it looked like he had on just like a tan colored shirt. I couldn't make out much of the shirt. I was really focused on the face because the face was very deeply lined. It looked like a very old man.
Okay.
He had very large eyes, a very long face, and like I said, he was huge. He filled the whole doorway. If this were a man that I encountered in real life, he probably would have been easily 6'5".
Okay.
And as I'm standing there staring, and the dog is staring, and of course I kind of freeze because I'm like, what is? My first thought, of course, is that my friend who owned the house is screwing with me. I'm like, he's figured out a
Okay.
way to
get in
somehow
here.
make this
Right.
happen. And, he's figured out a way to somehow make this happen, and he's messing with me because he can, and he knows I'm alone, and it'd be funny. But as I'm looking at this figure over here in the corner, and it was probably, I'd say maybe 10, 12 feet away from me. It was close enough that I got a good look, but not so close that I felt scared to be that close.
Okay.
And as I'm watching, as a matter of fact, the darkness behind me is kind of a good visual of that. He just sort of backed up into the hallway, and the darkness just kind of took him.
Interesting. So it wasn't like he just disappeared. It was an what I would say, intentional movement backwards.
It seemed to be, yes. Yeah, it absolutely looked like he took a step.
Okay. So at this point, what's going through your mind?
What's going through my mind is, number one, that my dog is a terrible protector. And number two, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it scared the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
I don't think I finished folding the laundry. And I am certain that I did not go, again, couch right here, me here, ghost here. I don't think I went past this part of the couch until my boyfriend got home.
Right.
I was not going anywhere near that end of the house.
So your boyfriend arrives home, and you're obviously freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
You tell him about this encounter, and what does he say?
He goes, well, his first comment, he thought I was messing with him at first.
Right.
Just like I thought somebody was messing with me. And then as I kind of explained it to him, he was like, that's very specific. And I said, well, it was a very specific visual that I had. And then when I explained to him about, the dog's name was Bat Dog. When I explained to him about Bat Dog getting so freaked out, that kind of freaked him out because he knows the personality type that Bat Dog is. And when the dog, it seems like the dog saw something too, that's when he got a little more, I wouldn't say concerned, but he took me more seriously then. And there had been, and we just always attributed it to it being an old house. There were always weird things like knocks or doors opening when they shouldn't open, or, things seeming to be a little out of place here and there. But I never felt any type of like bad energy in the house. So I didn't really worry about it. But I will tell you that after that incident, we did take it a little more seriously when weird things happened in the house.
Okay. So talking about heaviness or bad feelings or weird energies, was there any of that when you saw this apparition? So did it, I mean, I know the air got still, but did it feel negative, or did
Not
it
at
just
all.
feel neutral?
It felt very neutral.
Like it was
I didn't
just there.
feel
It
any
didn't
type
care.
of, yeah, I didn't, I'm not, honestly, I'm not even certain that whatever it was even noticed me
Okay.
because it never looked my way. There was never any type of acknowledgement of my presence in the room. There was never, there was no like, it didn't look and then move back. It just was there and then it retreated.
Hmm.
And I never felt any type of bad energy.
Okay. So after this happened, boyfriend comes home. You guys talk about it. Do you do like a full on investigation of the house to make sure no one's there?
Well, yeah, we definitely did a walkthrough. Every light in the house got turned on, went through all the closets. I did, in fact, call my friend who owned the house and I said, what do you, and I woke him up and I'm like, hey, what do you, I think I saw something. And he's like, oh, I know what you saw. And of course, I think he's messing with me. And I kind of gave him a description. He was like, oh, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we used to see occasionally. At which point I'm like, well, okay, I guess we have somebody else living in the house with us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it obviously didn't feel negative and it didn't feel like it had any ill intent. So,
No, I didn't ever feel threatened.
and have you seen that? Did you see that again, or was that the only time you saw it?
That was the only time I saw it.
But you guys had
I
other
will tell you, though,
paranormal
that
stuff.
there are others that have said they've seen things in the house, though.
Oh, really? So similar things or other things?
Similar things.
Okay. So like often, once in a while, it happens, or
Once in a while, it's a very blue moon sort of situation. There was another girl that lived in the house for a while that also rented from this homeowner, and I think she reported at one point that she had seen something kind of strange that was similar. And of course, the guy who owns the house, who now lives there again, he says he's seen some weird stuff.
really? And is it usually late at night like that, or has it happened at other times of the day? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. But you had other things happen, objects moving, doors opening, that kind of stuff?
Well, it's the kind of minor stuff that makes you question whether or not it's happening. You come home and you think you left your coffee cup next to the sink, but it might be on the kitchen table, and you think, well, maybe I just didn't put it next to the sink. But then it's those kind of things happening regularly enough that you're like, now wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Surely I'm not this scatterbrained.
Right. Yeah. No. I lived in a house where things moved a lot on their own before.
And this is not the only house I've lived in with that sort of thing. So I think by that point, it wasn't as scary to me. So I just
Right.
kind of took it in stride.
So I have a question. Would you
Sure.
say that you were a believer in paranormal activity before this event?
I was.
Okay. So you've had other experiences in your life, or
I have.
you just believed?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the house that I used to live in with my ex-husband, the house that we bought together back in 2001, I know had spirits in it.
Okay.
We are absolutely certain that things happen there. And the house that I'm in now, I'm pretty sure has some activity in it. So I guess it's just at this point I'm kind of used to it.
Well, and there's theories that some people attract that kind of activity.
Well,
Not
I mean, I
intentionally.
am pretty attractive, so
And a great dancer to boot. See.
why? Thank you.
So, would you say that did it change the way you behaved in the house any? Besides being a little more aware of things being out of place, doors opening, would you say that you were more fearful in your house, or were you just more aware?
I think there was a little bit of change in behavior as far as me kind of being aware that maybe I wasn't alone when I thought I was alone. So there's a little bit of change in actions there, as just maybe being a little bit, you kind of get the feeling you're being watched sometimes if you know there might be something else in the house with you.
Yeah.
And obviously, that kind of changes the way that you act. I might not shove all of the Oreos in my mouth at once because I think some ghost might be judging me. Those sorts of things. It's not, I wouldn't say I necessarily lived in fear of any kind, but you definitely live with that consciousness that maybe you're not alone.
Yeah. And did you ever feel, so like I know a lot of people that have paranormal activity in their house feel watched sometimes, or
Oh, yeah.
a little paranoid. Did you feel that often, or?
I have absolutely felt that way, yeah.
Okay. So did this incident play any part in you moving out of the house, or did you guys just move on?
We just moved on. We ended up moving to a different city, so that, yeah, I didn't I wasn't ever nearly uncomfortable enough in the house for that to have been a reason for me to move. I actually loved living there, but my job situation and some other things led me to move elsewhere.
Okay. So you say your current house also has some activity?
Oh, for sure.
Well, like I said, there's theories that certain people attract the activity. Do you think you attract that kind of activity? Have you experienced things like this your whole life?
I think that some of us are more sensitive than others to certain things. And I think that that displays in a lot of different personality traits. I particularly think that people who are skilled in relationships with other folks and say going in and communicating and reading a room and being able to build those trust with people and kind of working with the public as a whole, we tend to be the type that pick up on the vibes around us. I use the phrase read a room a lot. And
Sure.
how quickly can you read a room? And I think that people who have that day-to-day skill with other folks that can read a room, I think some of us sometimes read a room a little harder than that. And
Okay.
so I think there's a possibility that I might have a little bit of a heightened sense of awareness when it comes to those things.
I gotcha. So, on that subject, when would you say that you became a believer? So obviously you've developed this skill of reading a room over a lifetime, right? We all do, especially people like us that deal with the public all the time, and
Right.
you're interacting with large groups of people on a regular basis. You start to
Right.
kind of not judge, but you learn, like you said, how to read a room. You can look around, kind of see what's working, what's not working. So was that part of your becoming a believer, is that you're reading a room and getting vibes off of things, or did something happen to you when you were younger and all of a sudden you just believed, or do you think you, as far back as you remember, do you believe?
I think that it really started in my early 20s. Back when my first husband and I had the house that we bought in 2001, which was the first house that I'd ever really seen any type of weird activity. And that was also when I was really starting to get going in my career, and I was learning those skills, the people skills that I didn't
Okay.
necessarily have growing up. I was but this is hard to believe, but I was kind of a shy kid.
I don't believe
And
it,
it,
not for
it
one second.
it took me a while. Well, I was shy and I wasn't shy. I was kind of a strange kid, but it took me a while as an adult to kind of grow into myself and into my personality and into my skill set. And I think it was in my 20s as I developed. I had a journalism career, and then I did a career in retail, and both of those taught me those skills on being. Oh, and I also worked as a loss prevention officer for Macy's, and situational awareness is everything when you work loss prevention,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
situational awareness has been a key of pretty much every career I've had. So I think it's as I've been an adult and I've been in those situations and I've had to, know what's going on out of the corner of my eye, or pick up on what that guy is doing over there. And, just that head on a swivel sort of feeling, which can be exhausting. But it also, has kind of honed that sense with me over time.
Okay. Well, is there anything, just to add the story, is there anything else you want to add? Any after effects or other things that you felt were important?
I think that people have such a fear of the unknown. It would have been very easy seeing that vision that night in that house to freak out, pack my bags, and be gone.
Right.
But I think that, we fear what we don't understand. And I think it would be very arrogant of man to assume that we understand everything that's out there.
And that's
And
honestly the whole point behind this channel is, and
nailed it.
yeah, I've actually had a couple of people ask me what my personal beliefs are. And I think as the channel grows and we talk about more stuff, those beliefs will become kind of apparent through the conversations that
Mhm.
we have. But I believe that strange phenomena happens to regular people all the time. And we're afraid to have conversations about it because we think we're going to be labeled as crazy or the weird guy
Yeah.
or whatever. But I mean, we recently had the Pentagon basically release, UFO videos. So the world is
And
changing.
exactly. And that's what I've always said about UFOs. I think we'd be very arrogant to believe that we're the only form of life in the entire universe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? It's a big universe.
Exactly.
There's lots of
There
planets.
are more things on heaven and earth than we can comprehend. And so, I would, encourage folks that if it's not like they have a poltergeist throwing a chair at their head, which I think probably only happens in the movies, be open to experiences and don't let yourself be ruled by fear.
Right. I agree 100%. The whole thing is, let's experience this crazy thing in all the ways we can experience it, even if sometimes those ways scare us.
Exactly.
Well, thanks again so much for coming on the show. I know that it's always a little weird doing these Zoom meetings with people. It is.
I'm typically the one behind the camera, so it's nerve-wracking to be the one on the camera.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story with us, and I'm sure that if you decide to tell more of your backstory, we'll have you back on again.
Sounds fantastic.
All right, we'll talk to you later. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and we can just hang out for a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Rocky.
No problem.